This is all
right.
I would never get like on that. Like, but I just.
Hi, everyone. Before I officially call the meeting to order, Kim in the booth is ready. Thank you, Kim. Thank you, BevCam, as always, for making sure that people can access our meeting easily. We appreciate that. I just wanted to run through the agenda and then we'll officially call it to order and get started. Probably no surprise to any counselor up here. This is a busy agenda. I feel like I say that every night this term. We have 3 public hearings. We have one at 7:45 on a national grid plan. This is not the national grid hearing that we've been continuing. They're 2 separate matters. One at 8 o'clock, it's a transfer of $90,000 into the DPS budget to cover contracts. And one at 8:15, which is the continuation of the city charter public comment on the report from the Charter Review Committee. So we'll have those in between or before, more likely. We'll take care of a bunch of routine business and we'll break for committee work and then come back to wrap it all up later this evening. So with that, I'll call to order this regular meeting of the Beverly City Council, Monday, May 2nd, 7 p.m. Ms. Kent, would you please call the roll?
Bowen? Here. Crowley?
Here.
Feldman?
Here.
Houseman?
Here.
Rand?
Here.
Rotundo?
Here.
St. Hilaire? Sweeney?
Here.
And Flowers.
Here. Thank you very much. Ms. Kent, Councilor Sweeney, if you would lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and I would ask that everyone remain standing in a moment of silence for Robert Peroni, who is former City Council President Paul Guanci's father-in-law, who passed away recently.
Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, everyone. And just want to take a moment to just mention that we're holding the Guanci family in our hearts right now. Mr. P, as he was known by many people, was well loved. Kristen Guanci's father, as I said, former President Guanci's father-in-law. So I want to be thinking of the Guanci family at this time. So to my fellow councilors, I think this is an opportunity for us to move through some of our routine business at the top of our agenda. We've had busy agendas every night, and I think tonight one of our goals will be to get some of our routine business wrapped up and make sure that we're moving along because we are heading towards budget season, and so I think we want to take some of the routine things and make sure we're getting them off of our agenda and getting them wrapped up in an efficient way. So we actually will jump right in tonight. We have one citizen speaker, Michelle Query. And you can come on up to the podium, and I know I just gave away your name, but if you would start with your name and address for the record, and then you have up to 5 minutes to address us.
Sure, thank you. Good evening, everybody. I am Michelle Carreri. I reside at 3 Eagle Lane, and I'm just here to read the land acknowledgement this evening. As we gather here in this place, we acknowledge and honor the original indigenous inhabitants of this land, the Namkeg and Pawtucket bands of the Massachusetts Tribal Nation, which continues today through the membership of the Massachusetts Tribe. We acknowledge their ancestral and continued connection to the land. We also recognize our obligations to this land, to better environmental care and stewardship, to which the indigenous people who care for it have long called us. As we work towards diversity, equity, and inclusion, we acknowledge the importance of lifting up and inviting in many voices, including those of Indigenous peoples, and of including those voices and perspectives in our discourse, in our decision-making, and in our actions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Query. Thank you for being here with us tonight. And I think this might be the first night we've jumped right in with citizen speakers. So Ms. Query had the shortest wait of any citizen speaker, I think, this season. So with that, let's go to communications from His Honor the Mayor, please, Ms. Kent.
Order number 135. Dear Honorable City Council, I am pleased to inform you that the City of Beverly has been awarded a $70,040 grant from the Mass Department of Transportation Aeronautics for the removal and replacement of fencing at the Beverly Airport. The match funding for this grant will require a transfer from the Airport Enterprise Fund in the amount of $17,510. This transfer request will necessitate a public hearing prior to any final action by the City Council. This grant funding will be used to provide and maintain fencing around the perimeter of the Beverly Airport as required by the FAA for safety purposes. Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53A requires both city council and mayor approval before any grant, earmark, donation, or gifts to the city can be expended for the prescribed purpose. I therefore request the city council approve this grant by acting on this matter at your upcoming meeting. Sincerely yours, Michael P. Cahill, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Ms. Kent. And I wanted to note that our City Director of Grants, Catherine Barrett, is here with us. Thank you, Ms. Barrett. Ms. Barrett, am I correct in assuming that you'll say a few words about all of the grants together at Finance and Property? Yes. Thank you for being here. So, Ms. Kent, let's refer this one to Finance and Property.
Order, I'm gonna keep going.
Yes, please.
Order number 136.
I would love you to.
Dear Honorable City Council, I am pleased to inform you that the City of Beverly has been awarded a $14,480 grant from the Mass Department of Transportation Aeronautics for completion of a noise analyst model and report for the Beverly Airport. The match for this grant will require a transfer from the Airport Enterprise Fund in the amount of $3,620. This transfer request will necessitate a public hearing prior to any final action by the City Council. This grant funding will be used to conduct noise services for the Beverly Airport to supplement work currently underway at the airport's master project plan. Noise analyst data, including airport and aircraft operational data, will be identified, collected, and quantified, and a report will be compiled. Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53A requires both City Council and mayor approval before any grant, earmark, donation, or gift to the city can be expended for this purpose. Sincerely yours, Michael P. Cahill, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Please refer that to the Committee on Finance and Property.
Order number 137. Dear Honorable City Council, I am pleased to inform you that the City of Beverly has been awarded a $59,000 grant from the U.S. DOT and the Federal Aviation Administration. The grant funds can be used for costs related to operations, personnel, cleaning, sanitation, general services, combating the spread of pathogens at the airport, and debt service payments. The end date of this grant period is 4 years from the date of acceptance. New airport development projects not directly related to the combating the spread of pathogens and approved by the FAA for such purposes may not be funding with this grant. Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53A requires both City Council and mayor approval before any grant, earmark, donation, or gift to the city can be expended for their prescribed purpose. I therefore request the City Council approve this grant by acting on it at your upcoming meeting. Sincerely yours, Michael P. Cahill, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Please refer that to the Committee on Finance and Property.
Order number 138. Dear Honorable City Council, I respectfully request that you approve a fund balance transfer of $208,760 from the Water Enterprise Fund to cover project costs associated with the Stanley Street water main work that has taken place. The city authorized a loan order in fiscal year 2015 to allow for some work in and around the Stanley Street area to take place, but due to private development in that area and the coordination of service infrastructure work, the city only recently completed a large part of the work. The original loan authorization was $800,000 in order and over the course of multiple fiscal years. The city has been able to transfer funds through its annual budget to cover the costs directly and avoid the need to borrow funds. To date, the city has spent $355,647 and covered $146,887 with direct cash transfers. This remaining $208,760 transfer request would close out this portion of the project without the need to borrow any funds. As part of the transfer request, we are requesting that the original loan and authorization Council Order Number 129 of fiscal year 2015 be rescinded. Please initiate action on this matter at your next council meeting. Sincerely yours, Michael P. Cahill, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Please refer that to the Committee on Finance and Property to set that public hearing.
Order number 139. Dear Honorable City Council, I am pleased to inform you that the City of Beverly has been awarded a $20,500 grant from the Mass Culture Council to support the local cultural council. This public funding is provided to promote education, diversity, inclusion in the arts, humanities, and science to foster a rich cultural life for all Mass residents and contribute to the vitality of our communities and economy. The Mass Cultural Council receives funding from the Mass Legislature and the National Endowment for the Arts. The Local Cultural Council program was established in 1982. Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53A requires both City Council and mayor approval for any grant, earmark, donation, or gift to the city can be expended for this purpose. I therefore request the City Council approve this grant by taking action on this matter at your upcoming meeting. Sincerely yours, Michael P. Cahill, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Please refer that to the Committee on Finance and Property.
Dear Honorable City Council, order number 140, I hereby appoint, subject to your review and recommendation, Mr. William Cosmas, 32 Washington Street, Beverly, to serve on the Zoning Board of Appeals. His term is to be effective until January 31st, 2025. Sincerely yours, Michael P. Cahill, Mayor.
Please refer that to the Committee on Legal Affairs. Let's go to communications from other city officers and boards, please.
Order number 122 from Councilor Rotundo, a biannual report for the Beverly Harbor Management Authority.
Thank you very much. And we do have Paul Earl here with us, who's the chair of the Harbor Management Authority. Mr. Earl, would you like to say a few words before we receive your report? And again, I gave away your name, but if you would just start with your name and address for the record.
Sure. My name is Paul Earl. I live at 6 Quincy Park in Beverly. And I have a frog. Good evening, Council President and other council members. Thank you for inviting me to provide an overview of the Beverly Harbor Management Authority, which I'll refer to as BHMA, and to answer any questions you may have. Additional information is contained in the documents that were attached to the agenda for tonight's meeting. BHMA was created by state legislature in 1987 and supports and partners with the City of Beverly on various projects and initiatives that relate to public access, waterfront development and use, and water-related activities. Our stakeholders include recreational boaters, commercial and recreational fishermen and women, and all visitors to the waterfront. We collaborate with the city, primarily the planning and engineering departments, finance, grants coordinator, the harbor master, and the solicitor and mayor's office. All projects are consistent with the current harbor and master plans of the city. BHMA has 11 members, with 9 appointed by the mayor and 2 city councilors appointed by the president of the city council, and they are all listed in the document you received. Backgrounds and expertise on the authority include business, maritime, finance, legal, environmental, engineering, regulatory, and construction. So I feel we have a really great group right now. We've had a couple of really good recent additions, and that should work out really well. BHMA meetings are held on the 3rd Wednesday of every month at 7 p.m. at the Beverly Library and virtually through Google Meet. We do intend to stay hybrid as long as we can. The public is welcome to attend and provide input. BHMA initiatives and activities of note include: we manage operations and prepare budgets for the public facilities on the harbor, including Glover Wharf Marina and the city pier. We foster public access to and along the shoreline. We advocate and support implementation of water-related resources. Examples there would be the signage and the kayak racks. We work with others to maintain and improve city-owned property on the waterfront. And a fun thing we do, well, the rest is fun, but a fun thing we do is we host the annual waterfront party called Harbor Fest, which we started back in 2011 to promote the waterfront and Glover Wharf when we kind of thought at the time the other restaurant was coming. So, but still, we've had a good run for 10 or 11 years. It's been fun. Projects and studies currently underway include, and I'll group these by areas, Bass River-related projects. We're awaiting the draft of the CAD, which stands for Confined Aquatic Disposal Cell Feasibility Study. And we're hopefully getting that any day now. And I know there's been a lot of discussions recently. We have not been part of them, but a lot of discussions with both Salem and Gloucester, which has been, those discussions have been headed by the mayor to start it off, and then by Foth, who's doing the work. And hopefully we'll get a report soon. Public access review and potential upgrades to public access along the Bass River. As I think many of you know, there's access both ways, near the McDonald's, coming on the other side, and then down near McPherson and all that kind of business. The lighting's not particularly good. There's no access in some places, and maybe there could be, et cetera. So Todd Rotundo has been very helpful, and we're getting into some exploratory analysis of improvements to that, which is a good kind of thing to do probably after the summer's over, but we're getting it organized now. Resiliency plan application. We just sent a letter of support, and we'll vote at our next meeting whether or not we're willing, and I think we will be, to put some money into it. And hopefully Beverly will get the grant to do the Bass River area study from a resiliency point of view. And I have gotten some feedback. Darlene sent it to me this morning. She requested feedback if we could give her some, and I did get it from our two environmental kind of people, Emily Flaherty and Todd Callahan. And I'll get that into Darlene either tonight or tomorrow morning. So I hope we get it. Glover Wharf related. Hoist Pier construction. We got that grant last fall. I think you all probably remember, most of you. And we're still waiting for Army Corps final approval. You've approved everything, and everybody else has approved everything, and Army Corps keeps turning over personnel. So we're waiting for the approval, and then hopefully we'll improve it for the commercial fishermen. Pier maintenance, we continue to look at that every year. A lot of those planks need to be replaced. Floats expansion feasibility, we have a engineering study underway right now on that, which I believe has been signed off for, and that'll start soon. We need more floats, but we're not sure if we can get more floats in that footprint, so we're going to study it. And potential new commerce opportunities. We're doing a study with another technology company with a web app and sensors to know how long boats are on docks and all that kind of stuff to see if we can collect data to, number one, see if we really need more capacity. So it dovetails the feasibility study nicely, and if so, how should we proceed? And then other, public signage phase 2, that will start, well, it's an 8-week lead time to get them up. So they should be up by the end of June. And that includes some really good signage over in the Bass River area and then a couple of other spots. And it'll be that same blue that you see on Lothrop and everything, and shows activities at the different sites, et cetera. Additional kayak racks, they'll be in any day now. We ordered them, I don't know, 6 months ago. And we had a third at Lynch and a third at Dane. And you'll see the importance of that in a second. And we're also further along in adding public access between Beverly Port Marine and Tuck Point. And we're hopeful that we can get that going all the way through to the end there. Several projects and studies are grant supported by the state, which you know, and have matches shared by the city and BHMA, which you approve. Others are funded by BHMA with some of them generating revenues like the kayak racks and some of them not, like signage. Whatever money is left over, we invest. Since 2011, BHMA has contributed in the neighborhood of $1 million of non-tax dollars to multiple projects, and more detail on that is contained in the document. Financial highlights, we take in about $200,000 a year, roughly. We spend about 80 to 100. We provide good service, we make improvements, but we don't waste money. And the operating profit we get is then plowed back into infrastructure improvements. We currently have a full marina with a waiting list of 30 on the recreational side, and the marina only holds 23, so expansion would be nice if we could do it. And 24 commercial, waiting list on the commercial side, even with the shape of the fishing industry, is 11. Wow. And we have some winter folks, which is nice because there's absolutely no expense. They just park their boat there. And kayaks, we have 94 spots, which are full. We have a waiting list of 76. We turned over only about 10% this year. About 10 people decided not to come back. So we need more kayak racks. And dinghies, we have in-water and land dinghy racks at Glover Wharf. There's 16 now, and that works pretty well. And our capital fund at the moment is in the neighborhood of $500,000. So we still have quite a bit of money to contribute matching-wise with the city, and also do some projects on our own, consistent with the city's wishes, that we can fund ourselves. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have, and thanks again for inviting me to provide the council with this update and for your interest in BHMA.
Thank you very much, Mr. Earl. That was a really helpful update, and the report itself is incredibly helpful. Councilors, are there any questions or comments for Mr. Earl? Councilor Rotundo.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to make a comment to you and to the board that is existing right now, and it is a very effective board that does a lot of work that people don't always get to see the work that's done. And from what I'm hearing historically, even being, on the board for 3 years, but realizing how many years back and how far it's come along since the days of it starting to fall apart and stuff. So I just want to commend you and make sure you are recognized, as well as all the members have done a great job, and I want to thank you. That's it, thank you.
Thank you very much.
It's a great group to work with.
Thank you, Councillor Rotundo. Councillor Houseman.
Yeah, I basically just want to echo the words of Councilor Rotundo. I served a couple of terms on BHMA. It's a terrific group, and Paul, you've done just a yeoman's job as a leader of that group for a very long time, so thank you particularly for your leadership and your years of hard work there. It's really made it a very effective organization, and I know you have a good group and some new members who are putting fresh energy into it, so
Yep.
just thank you very much for all the work and you, that of the authority members themselves.
Well, thank you. I didn't mention that the recent additions are younger. So we're trying to get some succession planning going at the HMA, because we want to keep it going really well. Thanks, Scott.
Thank you. Councillor Bowen.
Thank you. Just want to also add my thanks and really appreciate the snapshot and sort of getting to see what's going on. And really just wanted to give you an opportunity too, if there's anything coming up that it's helpful for us to know about to help promote, get people involved in. I know Harborfest obviously, but if there are any other projects you've got coming up that you think are just particularly exciting for people to get involved with, having a full complement on the board itself is a good step towards that. But I think there's, when we see it all in one place on paper, it's impressive how much is going on. So I'd like to also give that opportunity to look forward if there are other things coming up that we can help spread the word about.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bowen. Any other questions or comments, councillors, for Mr. Earl? All right. Thank you very much. Oh,
Thank you
Councillor
again.
Graham, you okay? You picked me out twice tonight.
Sorry.
Thank you again, Mr. Earl. Thank you for being here to share more insight about your report. And Harborfest truly is just a great community event. So thank you. Everything else you do as well, but that's been such a special community event. Councillors, I would entertain a motion to receive this report and place it on file.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. That carries 8-0, and so we will receive this report, place it on file. Thank you. Ms. Kent, before you pick up, I just want to recognize there's quite a few folks here in the room that I should have recognized before, starting with Chief Lasher from our police department. Thank you for being here, Chief. I mentioned Grants Director Catherine Barrett, also the Mayor's Constituent Services Director, Ronnie Jacobson. Ronnie, I didn't miss you this time. We have a clear sight line to each other. Assistant Solicitor Beth Oldmixon is here with us, Planning Director Darlene Wynn, Ward 6 School Committee member Lorinda Visnick in her familiar back row seat, and former City Councilor Stacey Ames also just walked into the chambers. So thank you all for being here, and of course our National Grid Rep Sabita, and we'll be getting to you shortly. Thank you everybody for being here with us, and thanks again to Paul Earl for being here to present this report to us. Ms. Kent, let's pick up with Order 123, please.
Order number 123, an application from the City Clerk's office for an ice cream truck vendor permit application for Stephen Wright of Collins Street, Danvers. And this has been to the police department and signed off by the chief.
Thank you. Let's refer that to the Committee on Legal Affairs, please.
Order number 124. Dear Honorable City Council, due to the Juneteenth federal holiday on June 20th, I'm requesting that the City Council change our regular scheduled meeting on Monday to June 27th, 2022.
Thank you. I would entertain a motion to approve this request to move that meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. So our regular council meeting that month will be moved to June 27th because of the Juneteenth holiday. Thank you, Ms. Kent.
Order number 126 from the City Clerk's office, an application for renewal for a pawnbroker's license for the Neon Group, Inc., DBA Cash Point at 135 Cabot Street.
Please refer that to the Committee on Legal Affairs.
Order number 125 from the City Clerk, renewal for secondhand junk dealer licenses for 2022.
Please refer that to the Committee on Legal Affairs.
Order number 127, renewal for Petro storage registrations for 2022 from the City Clerk's office.
Please refer that to the Committee on Legal Affairs.
Order number 128, a proposed ordinance change regarding city clerk, assistant city clerk, and clerk of committee salaries.
Thank you, and that's from Counselor, being submitted by Counselor Rotundo. Counselor Rotundo, did you want to say anything about this before we refer it?
Not right now, thank you. I'll hold my comments.
Thank you. So we'll refer that to Legal Affairs, please, for further discussion.
Order number 129 from Councilor Rotundo, proposed ordinance change regarding salaries of the mayor, city council, and school committee.
Counselor Rotundo, anything you'd like to say on that one before we refer it?
Nope, we'll just, again, we'll take this up in legal and move it out from there. Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll refer that to Legal Affairs as well, please.
Order number 130, review from the Chief of Latcher, review the Class 2 motor vehicle license of Alba Auto, 449 Cabot Street.
Before I refer that, I just want to back myself up one and just mention that for Order 129, in addition to Legal Affairs, there'll be a public hearing set for that.
Correct.
Thank you to Councilor Rotundo for bringing that and reminding us about the public hearing. Order 130, please refer that also to Legal Affairs.
Order number 131, from Finance Director Brian Ailes, approval to pay prior year invoices from FY 2022 totaling $271.64.
Please refer that to the Committee on Finance and Property.
Order number 132, from President Flowers, appointment to Mr. Jordan Stutt of 113.5 Bridge Street to serve on the Clean Energy Advisory Committee.
Thank you, and I will just read the cover letter into the record if that's okay. Dear Honorable Council, I hereby appoint, subject to your review and recommendations, Mr. Jordan Stutt, 113.5 Bridge Street, to serve on the Clean Energy Advisory Committee, the CEAC. His term would be effective until 2025. Included with this letter are Mr. Stutt's letter expressing his interest in the position and a copy of his resume. Very truly yours, Julie R. Flowers, City Council President. And we will refer that to the Committee on Public Services.
Order number 141. This is from the mayor for Beverly Ordinance Section 130. Oh, I should read this whole thing, right? Yeah. I don't know. Sorry. Dear Honorable City Council, enclosed, please find proposed amendments to Section 113-2, possession of consumption on public ways and public places or on private property, and Section 192-61E, sandwich board signs of the city ordinance concerning alcohol beverages and signs. The proposed change will allow the city to extend its temporary outdoor dining provisions through the 2022 season. This change is consistent with the extension of the governor's pandemic-era provisions related to the ability to serve alcohol outdoors, which were officially extended to April 1st, 2023 by legislative vote by inclusion in Section 27 of the supplement budget and signed into law by Governor Baker. Please initiate action on this matter at a city council meeting. If approved by the city council, we would like to meet a start date of June 1st, 2022, or as soon as possible thereafter, considering the city council schedule. We will be requiring a new application for any businesses wishing to participate in temporary outdoor dining concurrent with the city council review. In addition to the new application, we will review all participating businesses to attend an in-person meeting to communicate relevant rules and regulations applicable to the outdoor dining program. Sincerely, Darlene Nguyen. I'm sorry, it's from Darlene Nguyen, Director.
Thank you. Ms. Nguyen, did you want to say anything about this? And thank you for being here with us, Ms. Nguyen.
I came in case you had questions. I mean, there are a couple new members, I guess, I think, of council since the last time we did this, but this is really just a regulatory change that we need to do in order to accommodate temporary outdoor dining for another season. We were kind of at the whim of what the state was going to do, and once we learned that it was going to be allowed again, we decided just to follow the temporary procedures again. We are, as I mentioned, requiring a new application to try and start the process over. There were and try and address some of the issues that we've had in past years, and we wanted to create some sort of way for buy-in that isn't assigning an application fee to businesses. So we're going to ask every business to come into a meeting in person. We will have maybe 2 of them in order to get their permit, so that we can just clearly communicate, what the rules and expectations are around trash, noise, ADA accessibility. Those are some of the main things that we've heard. Making sure that the spaces remain accessible, clean, look nice, and that we're being respectful of our neighbors.
Thank you very much, Ms. Nguyen. We'll refer this to the Committee on Legal Affairs, and councilors, if you have further questions. Ms. Nguyen, are you staying for a little bit so you could be in committee with them?
I can, if you want me to, yeah.
Thank you. Legal Affairs, please, for Order 141, Ms. Kent.
Order number 133, a petition to construct a line of underground electric conduits marked Cabot Street, Plan 303-90943 from National Grid.
Thank you very much, and we'll refer that to Public Services to set a public hearing, please.
Order number 134 from National Grid, a petition to construct a line of underground electric conduits marked Bayberry Street, Plan 211-95878.
Thank you. We'll also refer that to Public Services to set a public hearing as well. And with that, I would entertain a motion to take a break for some committee work before our public hearings begin. This might be a record for us.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Perfect. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. That carries 8-0, so we are taking a break for some committee work. The first public hearing picks up at 7:45, so chairs, if we can be mindful of the time. Legal Affairs will stay here on BevCam. Public Services is going in the committee room? Yes. The committee room, and Councilor Hostman, you and I will be on the bench.
Fair enough.
All right, thank you. And thank you to
Yeah, okay. Okay, call to order Committee of Legal Affairs. And let's take up order number 56. Where, are we still, Councilor Rotundo, are we still holding this?
We can vote that out, if you wouldn't mind, Madam Chair. So we can't take that out of, we can take a vote if you want to.
Okay, so you, just to confirm, you've had an update from Commissioner Collins.
I have, and the letters have actually gone out to the neighbors on Ellie Street, which is what was holding it up. The letter has since been produced. It's been personally hand-delivered yesterday to each neighbor on Elliott Street down to Echo Ave.
Okay, and I apologize, I didn't read the actual order. Order number 56 is an amendment to Chapter 270, Section 37A, adding bicycle lanes created on the following locations, and those locations are all on Elliott Street.
From the
Yeah.
Danvers line down to Echo Ave.
Okay, from
Both-
Danvers
both
to Echo Ave.
sides.
Thank you. Any questions? No questions. Okay, I would accept a motion to approve order number 56.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Okay. Order number 79, we are continuing our public hearing for that this evening, so we don't need to talk about that. 75 and 79 are both related to the charter reviews, so those are still on our agenda. Order number, let me see here. 105, so that is an order for the, from the city clerk for the hawkers and peddlers license for Katie Lewis, the Cozy Supply Company, and she's at 4 Alden Road. Any questions from committee members?
Can't recall what that.
It's like a truck, not a food truck, but
That's right, I
sort of
remember that, thank you.
a vending truck.
Yes, I remember seeing
Yeah.
that with the Army. Yep, sorry, thank you.
No, I didn't have any questions.
Questions?
Did we hold to speak to the owner? I was curious as to why we did not originally approve when the matter first came to subcommittee.
Just so we could reach out to her. And I think also, Chief LaLasher, since you're here, I was curious about that. Do you look at the hawkers and peddlers license as well? I'm curious if you, Katie Lewis is a new applicant. It's kind of an interesting request. It's not selling food, but it's like kind of set up like a food truck. So I was wondering if you had any comments about that.
Yeah, all we basically do is, it's a query check,
Okay,
and not necessarily recommending and not recommending the license, but just making sure they're a good character.
okay. And that came from your desk with no problems?
Correct.
Excellent.
And she's had other licenses I've given in the past for other type of sales.
Okay. All right, I would accept a motion to approve order number 105.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. Okay, order number 106. Let's see. So this order is from Delphine's Kitchen from Gina Ferris to approve outdoor seating for 3 small 2-person bistro tables. I know the clerk's office has reached out to the inspector's office. I don't know what or if they heard back.
Madam Chair?
Yeah.
So Darlene, because this is outside, so this issue is in regards to the 2 tables outside. Can I assume that with the outdoor dining, I know we're getting ahead of ourselves, and I know the reason why we held it was to talk to the owner of the establishment, and we haven't since heard anything from her. But will she be going through, so she's looking for permitted outside?
Yeah, this is separate from the temporary outdoor dining program. There's an ordinance on the books that
Right,
requires
which is the outside
any-
furniture and all that stuff.
Furniture,
Right.
signage, awning, like,
And so, in regards to that, is from your office, where are you standing in regards to the outside furniture as well? I know you've been talking about it, and I know your office is short-staffed as well, but I know we requested the
right now,
owner-
it's something that requires city council approval. Sorry to interrupt you. So I don't, it's,
So we're doing a case-by-case basis still. There's no ordinance that you're looking to create in the future. You're looking at it as a case-to-case basis?
if there was an interest to either create a better process around this that's more clear, or to amend it in such a way, I think it's one that's not enforced consistently, and that people don't understand exists. So I think we could have a longer conversation about whether or not, what we think the appropriate rule is around that, or how to make it clearer and easier for people.
So my question is in regards to this particular establishment, because it is a case-by-case basis. We did ask for her to at least speak to the council, but has she at least reached out to you in that regards?
I had been in contact with her before about it. I mean, my perspective was that this was not the planning department's purview, but that it did require, the ADA compliance is like the main thing, which I think there's been a misunderstanding about the interpretation of it.
Okay, so that's...
So we actually, I think, and we may be remembering it differently, which is entirely possible with my brain. I think for me, the sticking point was whether the inspector had actually gone down and measured for ADA compliance, which she actually measured on her own and cited in her cover letter that it met the requirements, but it, I think it's best practice to have the inspector do that. I think I've also taken a walk down there, and the sidewalks are pretty wide there. I did not measure it, and I'm also not an inspector, an ADA compliance expert.
I'm okay with that. Just, like I said, I know that kind of got brought up in the conversation when we were in our
Yeah,
other location. So I'm okay, like I said, I don't have a problem with this particular, I just was making sure that it wasn't a larger. Thank you.
I think if it's possible, and maybe Ms. Olmixon, you could weigh in on this, I'd like to approve this, you know, pending of, you know, confirmation that this meets all ADA
Yeah, I think
compliance.
you have consistently approved licenses conditional
Okay.
on either confirmation or the inspection to confirm compliance with the ADA.
All right, and I will also just note that there are a number of businesses that have kind of bistro tables at their, outside of their businesses who have not applied to do that. So I just kind of want to commend Gina Ferris for actually going through the process. And I would accept a motion to approve this license on the condition that it meets ADA compliance.
So moved.
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 3-0. Thank you. Okay, let's do a couple more. Let's see. Okay, order number 123, which is actually not on my list, but I have it here in my hand, is an application for an ice cream truck vending permit for Stephen Wright at 116 Collins Center, Danvers. And this has met all of the requirements that come with this permit request.
I'm familiar with the truck, I'm comfortable, we see it around, I see the kids chasing it all the time. Actually, I've dealt with them on, with the Livingston Park stuff, so I'm comfortable with it.
Excellent. Any questions?
No questions for me.
Okay, I would accept a motion to approve order number 123.
So moved.
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Just want to make sure I record that. Okay, order number 126. Sorry, I'm going out of order here, hold on. Okay, order number 125. Let's see, and this is a renewal for secondhand junk dealer licenses, and this includes multiple organizations, Cash Point and the Lena Nargozian Gallery. Any questions from committee members? Sure.
I have one question, Madam Chair. Is anyone able to elaborate on the difference between the secondhand junk dealer's license and the pawnbroker's license?
I believe that the pawnbrokers, you're allowed to give cash for an object for material. Would you, Ms. Olmixon, would you like to elaborate?
Yeah, they did seem very similar in
Yeah.
nature of operation. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Also, under the pedal, we actually have a right to inspect. So we actually have a detective that goes in and checks on the pawn shops. They actually go in and check the records, and the sale's a little different from a straight sale hawk and peddler.
Okay.
And the purpose of that is to see if things have been turned up that have been reported stolen, correct? Okay, okay. What's that?
How close are you to that?
We haven't gotten to order number 130 yet, so probably 10, 15, tops 10, if we're lucky.
Let's do this. Let's open that public hearing and then recess it so you can finish up.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, motion to adjourn, sorry. Motion to adjourn Legal Affairs Committee.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, we're adjourned, but I will be right back. Can I leave this here?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. Thank you. So we're gonna, City Council is back, called to order. I do want to try to let Legal Affairs wrap what they were in the middle of doing, but I do need to also open the public hearing scheduled for 7:45, so I would like to open our 7:45 public hearing on order number 121. This is National Grid's Plan 3044121 for Railroad Avenue. I do want to mention at this time, there are 3 public hearings, as we mentioned earlier, 7:45, National Grid, 8 p.m., transfer of $90,000 into the Department of Public Services budget, 8:15 to finish public comment on the Charter Review Report. All 3 of these public hearings have sheets that you can sign up on the table in front of where Ms. Kent and I are seated. So if there are members of the public, you can come forward at any time to sign up for those. Ms. Kent, Legal Affairs has a couple more minutes of business to do. Can we recess this hearing and then have them pick up?
Yeah, it's totally up to you.
Entertain a motion to recess this public hearing until 7:55.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries 8-0. We're going to recess this public hearing to 7:55, please. And I'd like to ask Counselor Rand in Legal Affairs to resume your business.
We'll try and be quick.
I believe in you.
That means a lot.
We're on,
Okay, thank you. Okay, call to order, Committee of Legal Affairs and also Committee of the Whole. Let's see if I can have kept this paperwork in order.
that's the last.
All right, it was upside down, got it, okay, this is, all right, back to order number 125, which is a renewal for secondhand junk dealers licenses. Counselor Sweeney, you had a question on the difference of the types of licenses. Are you
I'm comfortable
moving
approving, given
forward?
that they're renewals,
Okay.
without the answer. That was more a point of curiosity.
Okay, perfect. I would accept, oh, do you have any questions?
Do not, Madam Chair.
Okay, I would accept a motion to approve order number 125.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 3-0. Okay. Order number 126, and this is the application for renewal for the Nyan Group, also for a pawnbroker's license, at 135 Cabot Street. Any questions from committee members? I would accept a motion to approve order number 126.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes 3-0. Order number 127 is a renewal for petroleum storage registrations for 2022. And these are all, hopefully somebody here can correct me if I'm wrong, these are all inspected by our fire prevention office. Actually, it says right there. And they've all passed the inspection. I would, any questions from committee members? Okay, I would accept a motion to approve order number 127.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes 3-0. Okay, order number 28. And this is, let me make sure I have this right. This is a proposed ordinance change regarding the city clerk, assistant city clerk, and clerk of committees' salaries. I believe this was your proposal, right?
Yes, it was.
I mean, Councilor Rotundo? I just read your name.
That's okay.
Okay.
It's my name.
Would you like to make a couple comments
Sure.
about this order?
One of the things that where we're looking at salaries, one thing I recognized in the charter that was stated that it's at the city council's to do this, the decision-making, because both council and the clerk and the city clerk work for the council. It's been policy in the past, for however reason, that the mayor has conferred with the president in regards to salary increases and what have you, but the reality of it is the council should be making that decision and bringing it. So it's just really kind of correcting and falling in line with what the charter is, being a little more clear in the ordinance of it. So like I said, the charter states that we do actually have the say on how it's done. So it's just really kind of taking what policy's been happening for the last 20 or odd years and really defining it as the positions going forward as well.
Great. Any questions from committee members?
No, Madam Chair, I have no questions. I would be curious to hear from the mayor or a member of the mayor's staff about operationally how this would change their current procedures with regard to setting the salary for the clerk, but otherwise I am supportive of the discussion to come here about looking at
Great.
this change.
That's a great question, and so we can vote to send this back out to the full council for discussion. So I would take a motion to vote to send this back out to the full council.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. Okay. Order number 129. How am I doing on time?
You're doing very well. Well, you have 3 minutes.
3 minutes, okay, all right, order number 29. This is also from Councilor Rotundo, and it's a proposed ordinance change regarding salaries of the mayor, city council, and school committee.
So this as well was something that was discussed with a couple of years ago. We held it due to the pandemic. There is a little changing to it to update it to the last 2 years. I would like this to put to a public hearing so that we are able to get people for get their input. We're not required to, but we can request it if we choose to. So that's something I would like to consider from the group, is if we could at least have a public hearing set
Okay.
at some point. Again, it's really to discuss the salaries of the school committee, the city council, and the mayor, which was discussed back a couple of years ago. I have worked with the solicitor as well as our budget analyst on this as well, and as well as the report was created 2 years ago, pre-pandemic.
Okay, and I think, do we have, Ms. Kent, I don't know if we have a public hearing time, or President Flowers, do we already have a public hearing time that we can set that for?
If you all would like to, Ms. Kent and I had talked about that the June 6th meeting at 7:20 is a time that would work for a public hearing to be set.
Okay, and would you like to make that decision as the full council, or can I make that here?
You all can set the public hearing.
Okay, so I would accept a motion to set a public hearing.
I want to ask solicitor, she wants to consult.
Oh, yeah, please, Solicitor Williams.
I didn't see it come in.
Thank you.
Good evening, and thank you. These ordinances don't need a public hearing. Obviously, you can hold one if you'd like to.
Okay.
So they
Yeah, I
just
think that
need
was
to
the
be
preference.
published in the newspaper.
Okay, and it's okay to hold one, though?
Absolutely.
Okay, perfect. Seeing as that was your, excuse me, your order, and that's your line of thinking, I would accept a motion to set a public hearing for June 6th at 7:20 for order number 129.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Okay, and that felt like 3 minutes.
You have 1 minute.
Okay. Okay, order number 130 is gonna take longer than 1 minute, I think, unless you can speak. All right, let's do this speed date here, order number 130. This is a review of the Class 2 motor vehicle license for Alba Auto at 449 Cabot Street. And please, Chief LeLasher, if you can help us out with this.
Briefly.
All right.
It came to our attention that there were an incident we had at Camp Paradise. A follow-up investigation found that numerous motor vehicles are being sold with either canceled, revoked plates, or plates that did not belong to those vehicles. It was brought to my attention to bring in front of the council for review of the permit. I leave it to the preview of the council, but a possibility of putting a probation on the dealer till they can get all their issues straightened out.
Okay, thank you for being here, Chief LeLasher. And so in order to really make this decision, the owner of Alba Auto is entitled to be here. So I would take a motion to hold this order number 130 until the May 16th.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. And Chief LeLasher, you'll be with us on that day as well? Okay. Oh, okay. Okay, and maybe someone from the solicitor's office. Okay, perfect. Order number 141, and this is, this is Beverly Ordinance, section 113-2C, and this is the ordinance that pertains to outdoor dining, basically. I would accept a motion to send this back out to the council for full discussion and hopefully some more information and questions from Director Nguyen.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, motion passes 3-0. Thank you. Okay, motion to adjourn Legal Affairs Committee.
Chairman?
Oh, I'm sorry, yes?
Yeah, if I may, I would request that the Legal Affairs hold, I know you can't act on it tonight anyway.
Okay.
But not take action on Order 140 until the mayor's office has provided the council information regarding, resume, letter of intent and so forth from Mr. Cosmos. As a general rule, I'd like to see all the appointments made by the mayor to have supporting materials. Right now, all we have is a sort of a bare bones letter, making an appointment.
Okay, actually, we don't, so
Request.
140, I don't have, or did you say order 140?
Yes, I marked it as legal.
Okay,
But
we
it's
didn't
not
even
one you
take
can
it
act
up
on. Yeah, it's
tonight,
not one you can
so-
act on tonight.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, motion to adjourn. Did we already do that?
So moved.
Okay, thank you. Legal Affairs adjourned. Motion to adjourn Committee of the Whole.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, that's.
$7:55 public hearing on order number 121. This is National Grid Plan 30441241 Railroad Avenue. Again, I will just remind members of the public that all three of our public hearings do have sheets to sign up to speak. If you would like to speak, you can come up at any point and do that. Sign up. And Ms. Kent, order 121.
City of Beverly ordered that the City Council of the City of Beverly hold a public hearing on Monday, May 2nd, 2022 at 7:45 PM at 191 Cabot Street, 3rd floor, Council Chambers, live stream on BevCam relative to the petition from National Grid for Plan 30441-241 Mark Railroad Ave. And this was published in the newspaper on April 22nd.
Thank you very much, Ms. Kent. Our National Grid rep, Savita, is here with us. You would come to the podium, and if there's anything you would like to comment on or tell us about this project.
This is actually just an amendment to a location. We already have conduit there, but we're going to be extending it onto the private property at that location.
Thank you very much. Councilors, are there questions on this location amendment? Councilor Rand.
Thank you. Okay, so I was looking at the map and I just can't quite tell, and I heard you say there's already conduit there, but what is the private property doing now?
They are upgrading their service in order for us to provide them with what their electrician had discussed with us. We have to put a pad mount on their property.
And is the pad mount the box? Okay, so will that be right on the sidewalk?
It's not going to be on the sidewalk, it will be on their property.
Okay,
They have a retaining wall there presently. It will be going onto that. We'll be rebuilding the wall to accommodate this, and it will go on their property.
okay. One
Go ahead,
follow-
Councilor Rand. Yes,
Thank you.
please.
And then are you, I'm sorry, I just totally lost my train of thought. Hopefully, I don't know if there are butters in the room, but that's what I was thinking. I'm just looking at the picture of that property and it's pretty dense right there. Have you heard from butters? I mean, I know this is an opportunity for butters to weigh in, but do you know if you've heard? Okay, I have not, but it's very dense right there. So I'm wondering if is there a plan for like the timing of the work to happen and reaching out to the neighbors there?
We probably wouldn't do that until after we got the easement signed back from the customer. At that point, we would be working with them for traffic in that area. Our civil group would be.
Okay. I have one more, if I may.
I will allow that, but I'm going to pause us because I just need to open the 8 o'clock hearing and then I will recess it. So I'm going to take a motion to recess this public hearing to 8:05.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries 8-0. So we're going to recess the public hearing on order 121 to 8:05 so that we can open the 8 o'clock public hearing on order 111. Ms. Kent.
Oops, sorry.
I'm sorry.
Order number 111. City of Beverly ordered the City Council of the City of Beverly hold a public hearing on Monday, May 2nd at 8 p.m. at 191 Cabot Street, 3rd floor, Council Chambers, live on BevCam relative to the transfer of $90,000 into the Department of Public Services Fund budget to fund costs associated with recently settled contracts between the city and DPS workers and foreman unions. And this was in the newspaper, April 22nd.
Thank you very much, Ms. Kent. Our City Finance Director, Mr. Brian Ailes, is here with us. Mr. Ailes, what do you have for us?
Well, thank you, Madam President, members of the council. See if I can get through this in 5 minutes. I think I probably can. You all have seen a number of these over the past few months as we negotiate and come to an agreement with various unions throughout the city. We bring these to you for funding. We are requesting that $90,000 be transferred from the city's reserve for collective bargaining agreement into the DPS budgets to support costs associated with the 2 MOAs that were attached to this order. One of the MOAs is an agreement with the DPS employees. The second MOA deals with the DPS foreman. Overall, the compensation package is fairly similar in value to the other collective bargaining agreements that we've already approved and funded to date. They are structured slightly different. The DPS employees contract calls for additional steps added to their current pay charts. An additional 1% step at 5 years, additional 1% step at 10 years, additional 1% step at 20 years. And in addition to that, they've, due to that kind of restructuring, they've agreed for a slightly lower wage package for the 3-year contract term of a 2%, a 2%, and a 1% at each year of the contract agreement. The DPS foremen have actually the structure calls for a reclassification of the foreman over a period of 2 years. So in year 1, the foreman actually moved from a grade 18 to a grade 19, and then in year 2, they would move from a grade 19 to a grade 20, and due to those adjustments in their classification, they've agreed to forego any wage adjustments in year 1 and 2, and in year 3, they would receive a 1% wage adjustment at that point. So obviously, we've done the math to all these. They're very much in line with the other agreements that we've seen from the other collective bargaining agreements, but we're happy to answer any specific questions you might have about them.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ailes. And yeah, I feel like my brain had a blip when I set this time, but are there any questions for Mr. Ailes? And if we have to finagle the times, we will. Councilor Sweeney.
Thank you, Madam President. One quick question, not necessarily related to this specific contract, but given that in a memo Mr. Perry wrote to us, he mentioned the reserve would essentially be depleted with this transfer. He did mention there were 2 other ongoing union negotiations on the police side. Do you anticipate those negotiations to wrap up before the close of the fiscal year?
Yeah, it's hard to say. They're ongoing negotiations, so we are actively working with both the police patrol unit as well as the superiors unit. We're optimistic that we can come to a conclusion, but can't say for certain.
And in the event that a conclusion is reached during this fiscal year, Mr. Perry doesn't believe that would be a notable issue financially and that money could be transferred from other accounts outside of this reserve. Is that your understanding as well?
Yes, that would be our recommendation if it does settle. It would be 1 year out of contract, so you're effectively only coming up with 1 year's worth of salary adjustments. And so we could, at that time, take a close look at where other monies remain within the existing operating budget and transfer from that to fund it. Or, as long as it's done before June 30th, we can also look to a free cash because it's a one-time infusion if there isn't sufficient funds elsewhere to support those costs.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you very much, Councilor Sweeney. Councilors, any other questions for Mr. Ailes on this matter? Any members, there was no member of the public signed up on the sheet, but any members of the public who wish to speak on this public hearing on Order 111, the transfer of $90,000? With that, then I would close this public hearing and refer that back to Finance and Property. We will take action on that tonight. I'd rather not hold up people's raises. Okay. We're right on time. Let's reopen the public hearing on Order 121. This is on National Grid Plan 30441-241 Railroad Avenue. Counselor Rand, we left off with you, had a follow-up question. Sabita, if you would not mind coming back to the podium, please.
Thanks so much. Actually, I just was going to make a request that any communication that goes to abutters, would you mind also sharing it with me? That'd be wonderful. Thank you.
All set, Counselor Rand. Counselors, any other questions on this public hearing? Any members of the public who are here to speak for this public hearing? All right. We will close that public hearing on Order 121 and refer that back to Public Services. Thank you very much for being here with us. And with that, because we have a little time, I would entertain a motion to take a break for some committee work so that Finance and Property can deal with the transfer we just voted on. And Public Services can deal with the matter we just voted on.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. We'll be back at 8:15 for our last public hearing. Thank you very much, counselors.
At 8:13 p.m. Mr. Ailes, would you mind coming up here? President Flowers, do you have any further questions regarding this matter for Mr. Ailes before I ask for a motion?
I don't. I appreciated the explanation that you gave us. Also, as Councilor Sweeney alluded to, I thought the memo from Mr. Perry was really helpful. And as I just sort of said to you privately, I'm grateful that we can take a minute to act on this, because I think anytime we're dealing with negotiations around people's compensation, I'd love to see us act on it when we can, as quickly as we can.
Absolutely. I'm satisfied as well, both with Mr. Perry's memo and your explanation. So I agree with President Flowers. We should move this along. I would entertain a motion to approve.
I would make a motion to approve Order 111 and approve that transfer into the DPS Services Fund budget to cover those costs.
I second the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 2-0. I don't believe there's any other business before this subcommittee at this time. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn Finance and Property.
I second the motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned.
All right. Thank you very much. local government fans on BevCam. So at this time, it's 8:15. We will call to order our public hearing on order number 75. This is the report of the Charter Review Committee. This public hearing has been continued from our April 4th and then April 19th city council meetings. And we anticipate that this will be the final in that series of 3 and another opportunity just to hear public comment before this is referred back to legal affairs for more work. Ms. Kent, order 75, please.
Order that the City Council of the City of Beverly hold a public hearing on Monday, April 4th at 7:45 PM, City Hall at 191 Cabot Street, 3rd floor, Council Chambers, Beverly, Mass, relative to the Charter Review Committee final report. And this, as you said, was continued from the April 4th meeting.
Thank you very much. And I do just want to note that Charter Review Committee Chair, former Councilor Tim Flaherty is here with us. Thank you very much for being here, Mr. Flaherty. I know we had a chance to hear from Mr. Flaherty as we opened this hearing, and he's here if we have any questions, but I think unless you would like to add anything, we can go right to members of the public.
No, I think you can hear from the public, and then I can always talk into legal affairs.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Flaherty. We do have some members of the public who are signed up to speak. If you have not yet been to sign up to speak and you would like to, Ms. Kent has the list. You can come on right up. And I will, while that's happening, just read into the record. We had an email sent to us to Ms. Kent that was requested that be read during the public comment time, so I will read that. Dear City Council, I received a call from Tim Flaherty, Chair of the Charter Review Committee, and my former colleague on the council after the April public hearing on the charter, during which former Councilor Joyce McMahon read a letter I signed. After getting more context from Mr. Flaherty, I better understand the intent of the Charter Review Committee's recommendation and withdraw my concern about the new language proposed surrounding the selection of an audit firm. I appreciate the work of former Councilor Flaherty and Charter Review Committee and opportunity to share my thoughts with the council. Respectfully, former City Councilor Kevin Hoban. Thank you to Mr. Hoban for sending his letter, and that was received by Ms. Kent, so councilors, if you would like a copy of it, Ms. Kent can distribute that. Thank you. I believe I saw members of the public come up and sign.
Excuse me, Council President, so that'll be distributed by the city clerk to the
Yes,
full council?
Ms. Kent can
Thank you.
distribute that. So we will begin with members of the public who have signed up. And I don't want to presume, but I think we have all the members of the public who are here who want to speak are signed up, but I will just remind members of the public, if you didn't yet get to sign up, you can still speak during the hearing, if the spirit moves you. But we'll start with Mr. Marciano. You're the first signed up, and if you would, name and address for the record before you begin.
Upolo Rick Marciano, 141 McKay Street. All right, I'm going to be talking about Section 7.8 and also Section 7.9, Citizens Initiative Measures and Citizens Referendum Procedures. I'll go right to the one paragraph in Citizens Initiative Measures, Section 7.8. The paragraph is G. And at G, it says, it's time of taking effect. If the majority of the votes cast on the question is in the affirmative, the measure shall be deemed to be effective forthwith, unless a later date is specified in such measures, provided, however, that no such measure shall be deemed to be adopted if fewer than 20% of the total number of voters have voted to adopt the measure proposed under the initiative or to rescind the measure protested by the referendum. And I believe that was put in there back in 1996 in the charter. And the 20% threshold is just, nowadays, it's just not reasonable at all. When you go to Section 7-9, the Citizen Referendum Procedures, it refers back up to the Citizens Initiative Measures, and it goes to paragraph A, B, C, and F, but for some reason, it leaves out G. So that's part of it also. So if the citizens want to do that, the initiative measure would be like the citizens want to get together and they want to change the parking meters we have right now from 8 to 8, I believe, to 8 to 6 p.m. They could do that. They could also, for trash barrels in the park, the citizens could get together and all vote for the parks that don't have an ocean front. They could vote to have trash barrels put back in their park. Under the citizens referendum procedures, that's where the school committee or the city councils approve a measure. Then the citizens can get together spend all their time and effort and go through everything, and they don't meet the 20%. So that's a key thing right there. It goes back to the last municipal election. So 2021, in the general election, 8,442 citizens voted. And today, I went and got how many registered voters we have today without going back to the past. Right now in Beverly, as of today, May 2nd, 2022, we have 30,155 voters. So again, only 8,442 came out for the municipal election in 2021. And that's approximately 27%. Now, if you go just to the primary, that's more what I'd be looking at. The primary, we had 7.1% show up, which came out to a total of 2,109 citizens. Example, Ward 1, out of 6,000 voters per ward, Ward 1, 6,000 voters, 339 citizens voted out of 6,000 again. Ward 2, 326 voted out of the whole ward in Ward 2. Ward 3, 361 voted. Ward 4, 460. Ward 5, 290 citizens came out to vote in the election, municipal election in 2021. That's kind of a disgrace. Ward 6, 333. All those numbers out of 6,000 citizens in each of those wards approximately. So, again, the undue pressure put on the citizens going out, putting that whole effort together to go out and meet their requirements, which I'm not gonna read all the requirements they have to do. That undue pressure, it's a lot of work. They get together with the meetings and all that, the money it costs to go out and get all the material to do it and everything like that, and on and on. So I just want you to really consider dropping that down, or just getting rid of it altogether, just to make it for the citizens, because no one today, the voting, again, it's just not there. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Marciano. Thank you for your comments and for being here tonight. Next on our list of speakers signed up for the public hearing, we have Stacey Ames.
Good evening, everyone. It's really great to see you all. And thank you for extending this hearing. President Flowers, my 22-year-old, came to me and said, I would like to go to the Red Sox with you for my birthday. So that's where I was, and we had a great time. But it's great to see everyone, and thank you for opening the process to public input. The Washington Post published an editorial recently written by Madeleine Albright before she died. And it really was a blueprint for moving us forward. And she wrote towards the beginning of it, collectively, we have had to bounce back not only from the pandemic, but also from doubts about our power to make self-government succeed. And that is exactly what charter conversations are about. And I believe the committee did an admirable job. Chairman Flaherty kept us focused on priorities, an invaluable and difficult task, given the volume of topics and time constraints. He contracted with the Collins Center at UMass Boston for professional guidance. And Paul Guanci assembled a committee he knew would often disagree, but knew would be committed to listening, respectfully debating, and focusing on creating the best possible outcomes. Beverly residents Julie De Silva, Rich Dinkin, Hannah Bowen, and when he was available, Michael Pinciero, are the shining stars of this committee. The first three took the lead, attending almost every meeting, digging into issues, and creating support documents and editing, then editing their edits time and again. Charter Review was dedicated to the success of self-government. And I'm here tonight for a few reasons. First, I want every member of that committee to know that this was not thankless work. As a counselor on the committee, I felt gratitude for every member's dedication to the project. Secondly, I want to share with you, new and former fellow counselors, how the sausage was made. Hopefully, this will help you understand why we made some decisions. And finally, I want to share my hopes, how this could move forward. We all spent more than a year working on the charter together, and there are changes that can help in here that can help self-government in Beverly be more successful. I'm going to use the school committee change as an illustration. As work began, it occurred to me that we didn't have any school system representation. No parent of a school-aged child or a member of the school committee was on the committee or on the agenda to talk to us. But our work included the school committee, and educating our young is a primary government function. Chairman Flaherty heard my concerns, and we reached out to school committee president Abel. Soon after, in a public hearing, former school committee president Chris Silverstein spoke and made virtually the exact same comments. I paraphrase, there's too much work for the school committee to accomplish as it is currently constituted. They need an expansion. Hence, the language before you is the result. In conclusion, Chairman Flaherty heard my concerns. We reached out for experienced advice and created a responsive change. As an aside, Chairman Flaherty often advocated for an appointed committee, but he let the process work through to a productive conclusion and consensus. This type of collaboration happened time and again. Committee goals were clear throughout the process. We worked towards change that would create a more effective government. We drove for easier community access, increased charter clarity, and wanted the document to focus forward. And everywhere possible, we embraced best practice. I want to shed light on the two items Mayor Cahill does not support. First is
Ms. Ames, can I pause you for 1 second? I'm so sorry to pause you in the middle of your sentence. I'm just noticing there's a quorum of the Charter Review Committee, and so I think it would just be helpful for us to just consult with the solicitor for 1 brief second, just so that we go forward in the proper manner.
Sure. Thank you, Madam President. As recently we had that open meeting law training, and the basic rule is if there's a quorum of another committee at a public meeting, such as this, that the members of that committee, if the meeting's not posted, they may speak, but they can only speak as individuals as an individual, and from their own perspective as an individual. And so that's really kind of the guide and rule. And so it's sort of difficult to know, right, exactly where that line is, but that is the rule. So individual members can speak personally as residents of the city of Beverly.
Thank you.
The people on the committee, I advise them to not speak with respect to matters that they deliberated over or that could be construed as their own deliberations at this point in time, especially if this is going to go back to the Charter Review Committee. As far as I know, it has not been disbanded. Perhaps it has been, but to my knowledge, it was not.
Thank you. But they are able to speak as residents of the city.
They can speak as residents, but just need to be careful to not have a conversation as though they're deliberating.
Amongst themselves. Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
And if a member were to step out, would a member of the charter committee be able to speak in any capacity?
If there weren't a quorum in the room, if there's not a quorum in the room, then there's not an issue. So,
Thank you. Thank you, Councilor Bowen. I apologize, Ms. Ames. I just realized there was a quorum and wanted to make sure that we were proceeding in the appropriate way. So I apologize. I was trying to find a good break in your sentence. I'm so sorry.
No, you're fine. That's fine. Where was I at? Committee, okay. I want to shed light on 2 items Mayor Cahill does not support. First is a pre-budget hearing. Simply, the Collins Center suggested this as best practice. They drafted the language. It's easy to understand why a hearing is a good idea. It would publicly give voice to you and your constituents on issues surrounding spending. A hearing before the budget is drafted as respectful, would provide easy access to comment and share, and the feedback could lead to necessary and effective change. A budget hearing would accomplish many kind and good government goals. More effective government, increased community access, clarity, and a forward focus. And it is best practice. Second is removing the Charter Chief Procurement Officer language. Again, the Collins Center recommended this change. They said it was unnecessary, covered under Mass General laws, and can be struck. From the minutes of our 1/27/22 meeting, Solicitor Williams concedes the designation of the procurement officer could be by charter or by ordinance. Ms. Contreras, the consultant, points, and I'm just reading the minutes, points to Article 5 of the charter. In that section, the mayor is named appointer of those offices. This recommendation can reference Article 5. The minutes go on to say, Flaherty is in favor of leaving the current language as it is, reiterating City Council may not accept this recommendation if unsupported by the mayor. Flaherty and Perry deferred to Contreras on the unsupported items. Mayor Cahill has clearly stated that he does not support the best practice or forward-thinking document in this area. The committee voted 5-1 in support of the language, and the question remains, how is the audit firm selection tied to the chief procurement officer language? The Cahill administration memo claimed the mayor must choose the audit firm because the mayor is the chief procurement officer. The council will need to unravel this question. Finally, I want to talk about the audit firm selection. This is the only council check on the executive branch's fiscal performance. The council must choose the audit firm for Beverly to ensure proper fiscal management. Honestly, we just don't have a choice. This is the only issue that was drafted behind closed doors. Given the open communication and collaborative result that you see in every other part of the report, this result was unfortunate yet predictable. Meetings, and it was Mayor Cahill who drove most of this language. Meetings were initially described as a courtesy to the mayor to discuss committee work and understand areas of disagreement. I requested to be included in the first meeting and missed it due to an unscheduled work conflict. I don't know how many more meetings occurred or why this process actually created the language in the report. I know the language was presented to the committee without the committee's opportunity to amend. I asked our consultant to see if there was any wiggle room, and she contacted the powers that be and responded there would be no discussion nor compromise. While not perfect, Chairman Flaherty and the Charter Review Committee's original language did ensure the council had the majority votes in the choice of the audit firm, and Chairman Flaherty has been a consistent advocate for this position. Councilor Bowen and I voted against the language. I continue to have grave concerns that the language was a mistake, and I wanted to seek some outside advice. I called former Councilor Joyce McMahon, whose experience, topical knowledge, communication skills, work ethic, and practicality have often helped me navigate complicated challenges. Our conversation confirmed that Mayor Cahill's language was problematic. Given the reality that I couldn't effect a change on the committee level, I needed an alternate path. The letter former Councilor McMahon read last week was part of that strategy. My hope is that when you see the president of the board of Beverly Hospital, Northeast Medical Systems, along with numerous thoughtful and dedicated former councilors, now including Ward 1 City Councilor, former Councilor David Lang, tell you that this language is troubling and puts the city at significant risk, you will listen. And you'll act to remedy the situation. Let me be clear. That letter focuses on one section. Mayor Cahill and his department heads have consistently pushed against council control in this area throughout the charter review process. Here are some data points to consider. Despite telling me on the back steps of City Hall that he didn't care who chose the audit firm, Mayor Mike Cahill drove the drafting of this language behind closed doors. From the minutes of the March 21st meeting, Perry introduces the finance director, Brian Ailes, and begins the discussion. He asks Ailes for his thoughts on a city manager, the current budget process, and the organizational direction of the finance department, and the legal opinion of the city solicitor, Stephanie Williams. Ailes briefly outlines the best practices implemented throughout the last 8 years during his tenure, and these are all just minutes. Ailes does not express any major concerns with the charter or any aspects therein. He does not want to limit the ability of a leader to effectively lead. Does not recommend instituting concrete changes within the charter, and believes the charter should function as a guideline. The charter should function as a guideline. Ms. De Silva asked about the City Council having a say in the audit process and selection of the auditor. De Silva mentions the solicitor's opinion. Ailes will not argue with it. He supports her implementation of the charter and feels it's a reasonable conclusion as to how the charter is drawn. Ailes refers to Mass Council law and language within the charter agreeing with how the budget section is structured. Ailes admits there has been some concerns with the function of the budget and audit rotation. Ailes addresses the independent piece of the audit and the processes therein. He later continues, currently, they're able to get good product from the city and suggests keeping the responsibility with the executive function. Ailes assures the committee individuals, such as Perry, are the independent function. Perry can audit anytime he wants. Ailes speaks to having the political nature exempt from the audit process. Councils can politicize the issues. If decisions are made outside the mayor's purview, it ties the mayor's ability to effectively perform. Councils don't politicize issues. They represent people. You all are aware of the memo to the from the city solicitor, who has argued that because the council doesn't have a procurement function, the council cannot choose the audit firm. Mr. Perry told the committee that he has a contract for services with the council. Mayor Cahill does not fundamentally understand that an audited entity cannot control the audit function. Cities, institutions, big businesses, they don't function this way. My brother, who took a company, New York Stock Exchange company public, when I told him this, he said if any CEO said to any board that he and his team, or she, wanted to control the audit, that board would have one message, and it would be, you're fired. Counselors, you have to figure out how to bring best practice and proper checks and balances into this government. If Mayor Mike Cahill continues to refuse to respect the need for a legitimate balance of power, you just need to find a proper way forward. The alternative is a dangerous lack of accountability that Beverly just can't afford. A few final data points. The city has contracted with Powers & Sullivan for decades. I didn't know this until my conversation with former Councilor McMahon, and you need a process to figure out if this is the right way for the city to continue to go. And finally, I ask, where is the audit report? Mr. Ailes told this committee that the report would be due by March. Have Budget Analyst Perry or Mayor Cahill sent you a memo or written an update? This is exactly the lack of accountability Beverly needs to avoid, yet it's here. This process is broken. In conclusion, Charter Review embraced best practice, prioritizing effective, clear, forward-looking, and accessible government process. These are reasonable standards. It makes sense for the council to consider these standards in its work. The documents were produced to be easy to use and transparent. You feel our respect for the work that came before this committee and the mark they leave for future committees. We know this work is not perfect, but we're working with living documents and we're human. But Charlie Grimes, Chairman Flaherty, Mary Grant, and even Mayor Cahill's mother have served on charter committees. They understood what the council shall annually provide for an outside audit of the books and accounts of the city to be made by a certified financial accountant or firm of such accountant means. To end where I started, Albright's parting words are, clearly, our future leaders will have to be gutsy and resourceful, and so, each in our own way, will we. To those who despair that possibility, I have a measure of sympathy, but little patience. There's no shortage of worthwhile work to be done, and no surplus of seasons in which to achieve our goals. So let us buckle our boots, grab a cane if we need one, and march. Thanks for this opportunity to address you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Ames. Thank you for your time and for being here. The next person on the list is Julie De Silva. Thank you, Ms. De Silva. And if you would name and address for the record. Even though, as I keep saying tonight, I gave away your name, so I did steal some of the suspense.
Okay. Julie De Silva, 201 Elliott Street. Thank you, President Flowers and City Council, for the opportunity to comment. As an appointee to the Charter Review Committee, first I want to thank former Council President Paul Guanci for appointing me to this committee, which has been an interesting and long labor of love since January 2020. I also want to thank Jerry Perry for keeping our meetings on track and in compliance and supplying us with all the tools and info we needed to do a thorough job. Charlene Woodbury, our minutes taker, who recorded the spirited discussion of this lively and talkative committee, and Marilyn Contreras of the Collins Center for her calm and thorough guidance and true desire to give us a charter that would pass muster with the state while representing the unique needs and character of the city we all love. I also want to thank and offer my appreciation for my fellow committee members, Stacey Ames, Hannah Bowen, Richard Dinkin, and Michael Pinciaro. We are a diverse group who came to the table with different experience and viewpoints. We respectfully and thoroughly reviewed and discussed every line of our charter with the shared goal of creating a product that would be acceptable to all parties and best serve the city for years to come, which was the clear and explicit goal of our dedicated chair, former Councilor Tim Flaherty. Tim was elected to the Charter Commission back in 1995 and has lived the document as a councilor and candidate for 20 years. This committee didn't always agree, but we voted on and shared a product as a committee, which is why I was shocked and very disappointed to learn that former Councilor Ames initiated contact with former Councilor Joyce McMahon to evoke a last-minute misinformation campaign regarding a certain section of the charter prior to the public hearing held last month. I was even more disappointed that sitting Councilor Bowen disrespected both the committee on which she served and the process before this council by signing a letter that impugns the product of the committee and shows that she has taken a stand on this topic prior to the completion of the deliberations of the full council. As two people who purport to be champions of transparency, democracy, and process, who have a seat at the table, they both have missed the mark here. participating behind the scenes in what is nothing more than political grandstanding. Mr. Flaherty and myself were both blindsided by the letter former Councilor McMahon presented with signatures of Ms. Ames and Ms. Bowen and former city councilors. After speaking with some of those people, it appears that they did not receive accurate information and the complete context of the changes to the section in discussion. Additionally, no one who signed this letter reached out to Mr. Flaherty, who is also a former councilor and is the chair of the committee. With the exception of Mr. Grimes, none of them appeared before our committee during our public hearing, nor did they submit written comment to our committee or come to any meetings. The doomsaying nature of the letter offers articles from 1992 as evidence that the new charter language could leave the city, quote, open to financial mismanagement and ruin, end quote. During our deliberations, it was very clear that the language was needed that placed selection of the audit firm in control of the council, provided continuity, and gave a proper timeline for selection of an audit firm and review of its reporting. Our new language reflects that. Additionally, the letter stated that the changes adopted this year should further strengthen the sound practices we now expect from our city government, not weaken them. I would argue that this new language does just that. Our committee learned from City Solicitor Williams that the suggested language we were adding to make clear that the council would have power to select the auditing firm would likely be vetoed by the mayor due to the size and the makeup of the audit committee. Rather than bring you a charter that would not be approved by the mayor, the committee worked with the mayor and Mr. Perry to come up with a compromise solution. Although ultimately our committee did not vote unanimously for the language, we did unanimously vote as a committee to send this complete new charter to the council. The new language gives more power to the council, as it clearly states that the council is to select the auditor and gives additional language as to how. The committee includes as chair, the chair of the council's Property and Finance Committee, and includes the budget analyst who works for the council. The audit committee makes a recommendation to the council, and the council ultimately makes the selection and sends to the mayor for sign-off. The audit firm and council also review the reporting annually. How this language could be construed as weakening the council is frankly baffling. I'm confident that Ms. Contreras' guidance on this matter was good, and the final language proposed is much stronger than the original. At this point, the public hearing is almost closed, and the fate of the new charter lies with this council and ultimately with the mayor. Should this council decide not to move our recommendation forward, or the mayor decides to veto this section, the language would revert back to the original language that was unclear and ambiguous at best. I ask you to keep this in mind as you move forward in your discussions. It's been my honor to be a part of this process, and I'm excited to see it finally move forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. De Silva. Thanks for being here with us tonight. And the last person we have signed up on the list of speakers, although that does not preclude another speaker who may not have spoken yet, although I don't see many others, from speaking, is Lorinda Visnick. Ms. Visnick, if you would, name and address for the record.
Even though you already ruined my surprise?
I'm ruining everyone's surprise, but your address is still your own to share.
Thank you. Lorinda Visnick, 39 Middlebury Lane. I wish to make clear that I'm here this evening speaking for myself, and I wish to speak on a few items that have been spoken over the course of a couple of public hearings. First, please allow me to reiterate the fact that I am here speaking for myself and not as a representative of the school committee. There is a recommendation to increase the number of school committee positions, and I wish to simply state that if the current and past school committee presidents spoke to the need for this increase, then I hope that this committee would respect the wishes of those wonderful public servants. Next, I'd like to reiterate what I've heard many others say about the selection of the audit firm. The ideas of our collective democracies include sets of checks and balances. To think that we would allow the fox to watch the henhouse is inconceivable to me. Please do not misinterpret my words to think I lack trust in any of the individuals involved. Rather, I wish to call our collective attention to the idea of the appearance of impropriety. I believe strongly that the average resident, if presented with this proposed change, may well consider it problematic. That's a very simple test, and if the wording does not pass the test, then we should not accept the wording. As such, I hope you take that into consideration. Finally, I wish to talk about
a topic that Mr. Grimes mentioned relative to the wording and the intended spirit of the role this body has as it relates to the school budget. If the majority of the school committee votes some number as being necessary for the operation of the schools in order to meet the needs of the children in our schools, please allow me to pause right here and remind everyone that the school committee is explicitly created to do exactly that, to determine what is best for the children in our schools. Thus, if the school committee votes some amount of money to be spent to provide what is needed for the children in our schools, and the mayor cuts that number, then as a matter of checks and balances, this body should have the ability, with a 2/3 vote, to restore the school committee voted number to the budget, with the added responsibility of keeping the total budget spend in line with the proposed final budget number. Without this provision, we must ask ourselves, why do we elect 6 school committee members to serve, or possibly 8 if you accept the 2 new proposed positions? What role do those elected officials serve if their collective will, along with the will of 6 or more of you, can be summarily dismissed by one person? I'm a fan of saying I believe that it's easy to govern in a time when the funds are plentiful, as they currently are. However, when funds are tight, it becomes much more difficult. Let us not wait for the difficult time to then examine the intent of our charter. Let's declare it as clearly as possible. Let's ensure that all our elected officials are empowered to do exactly what they have been elected to do, and make sure we have a very solid set of checks and balances. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Visnick. Thank you for your time being here this evening as well. Are there any members of the public who have not had a chance to speak who would like to speak on this matter? Chairman Flaherty or Solicitor Williams, are there any other comments that you would like to offer at this time?
Nope, I think it's, if no one wants to speak and close the public hearing, I think we can move on to legal affairs.
Oh, could you come to the podium for that for the fans on BevCam, please?
I think we've heard from the public what we've done through this whole process. So I think that my recommendation as the chair of the committee would to close the public hearing and then refer it to legal affairs, and then we can discuss it during that time, and then how many meetings, 2 or 3, and then we can kind of go from there. Whatever you decide, Madam Chairman, President.
Thank you very much.
Get that used to it. Usually it's Paul up there, so I'm sorry.
He and I do look alike, so it is confusing.
Mask.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. So with that, I will close this public hearing, refer it back to Legal Affairs. Legal Affairs Chair, Councilor Rand, would you like to say anything about the schedule that you have going forward for your committee?
Yes, thank
Would you like me to talk while you open your computer and find the schedule?
You could do that, I suppose. No, I actually, in fact, I want to just say thank you right off the bat to the Legal Affairs Committee, the Solicitor's Office, the Clerk's Office, Mr. Perry. This schedule has changed a couple of times just in its draft form, and in that process, I definitely neglected to sort of gather everybody's availability. So all the people that I've just mentioned have been super flexible, and I really appreciate that. And please accept my apology publicly. That being said, what we have scheduled, if I can get to my calendar, is, in fact, I think I texted it to myself today. Hold on. Or not. It was fast. Okay, we have May 4th to start with at 6 p.m. And then we have this will all be here in council chambers. This will also all be on BevCam. Thank you very much to BevCam for supporting this process. I think it was really important to have that, this process continue to be publicly available. Also, members of the public are able to attend the meeting, but if they cannot attend, then they can watch on BevCam. We don't anticipate remote participation because we'll be here in council chambers. And let's see, my computer is very slow. Here we go. Opening. Oh, yeah. Or not. I just wanted to get it right. You could banter.
Ms. Kent, do
Yeah,
you?
here we go.
Middle school Red Sox night. May 9th, May 10th at 6 p.m., and possibly the 11th if needed.
Right.
Possibly the 12th is needed.
Yes, yep. So it's 5 dates altogether, starting
May
the
4th.
4th. Yeah, okay.
All at 6 p.m.
Thank you, Ms. Kent.
Thank you.
All here,
All
council
here.
chambers.
Yep.
Thank you very much, Councilor Rand. And
Thank you.
Thank you for the assist, Ms. Kent, and also Kim. With that, I think that brings us to reports from committees. Ms. Kent.
Order number 112. The Committee on Finance and Property Committee of the Whole, to whom was referred the matter regarding an Assistant Finance Director position, have considered said matter and beg leave to follow. Recommend that the request be granted.
Questions or comments on this one? Question comes on the acceptance of the proposal and the adoption of the order. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 8-0. Thank you very much.
Order number 120, the Committee on Finance and Property Committee of the Whole, to whom was referred the matter regarding an invitation to Mayor Cahill and Finance Director Ailes to attend the April 28th Finance and Property meeting, have considered said matter and beg leave to follow. Recommend that receive this letter and place it on file.
Questions or comments? Question comes on the acceptance of the proposal and the adoption of the order. All those in favor?
Aye.
Receive and place on file. Thank you. Any opposed? Thank you. Motion carries 8-0.
Order number 131, the Committee on Finance and Property Committee of the Whole, to whom was referred the matter regarding approval to pay prior year invoices from FY 2022 totaling $271.64.
Questions or comments on this one? Question comes on the acceptance of the proposal and adoption of the order. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries 8-0.
Order number 135, the Committee on Finance and Property, to whom referred the matter regarding the $70,040 grant from Mass DOT for the removal and replacement of fencing in Beverly Airport, set a public hearing on 5/16 at 7:30.
Questions or comments? Question comes on the acceptance proposal and the adoption of the order to set that public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, and I'm also an aye. The motion carries 8-0.
Order number 136, the Committee on Finance and Property, to whom referred the matter regarding a $14,480 grant from Mass DOT for completion of a noise analyst model and report of Beverly Airport, have considered said matter and set a public hearing for 5/16 at 7:40 p.m.
Questions or comments? Question comes on the acceptance proposal and the adoption to set that public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries 8-0.
Order number 137, the Committee on Finance and Property, to whom referred the matter regarding a $59,000 grant from the U.S. Department of Transportation and Federal Aviation Administration for costs related to operations at the airport, have considered said matter and beg leave to follow. Recommend the council approve this request.
Questions or comments? Question comes on the acceptance of the proposal and the adoption of the order. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries 8-0.
Order number 138, transfer from $208,760 from the Water Enterprise Fund to cover projects costs associated with the Stanley Street water main work. Have set a public hearing for June 6th at 7:40 p.m.
Questions or comments? The question comes on the acceptance of the proposal to set that public hearing for June 6th at 7:40 p.m. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries 8-0.
Order number 139, the Committee on Finance and Property, to whom referred the matter regarding a $20,500 grant from the Mass Culture Council to support the local Cultural Council have considered said matter, recommend the council approve the request.
Questions or comments? Question comes on the acceptance of the proposal and the adoption of the order. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries 8-0.
Order number 56, the Committee on Legal Affairs have considered said matter, beg leave to follows. This is for the bicycle lanes to be created, that Councilor Rotundo had brought up, and we will have final passage on May 16th.
Thank you very much. So, as councilors will remember, an ordinance change cannot be approved the first night it's read, so that will remain on our agenda for final passage. Thank you, Councilor Rotundo, for bringing that forward.
Order number 105, the Committee on Legal Affairs, to whom was referred the matter regarding an application for hawkers and peddlers license for Katie Lewis, the Cozy Supply Company at 4 Alden Road, have considered said matter and beg leave to follow. Recommend the license be granted.
Questions or comments? Question comes on the acceptance of the proposal and adoption of the order. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries 8-0.
Order number 106, the Committee on Legal Affairs, to whom referred the matter regarding a letter from Gina Ferris requesting approval of 3 small two-person bistro tables for outdoor seating at Delphine's Kitchen, 261 Cabot Street, have considered said matter and beg leave to follow. Recommend the license be granted if in compliance.
Questions or comments on this one? Question comes on the acceptance of the proposal and the adoption of the order. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries 8-0.
Order number 123, the Committee on Legal Affairs, to whom referred the matter regarding an application for an ice cream truck vending permit application for Stephen Wright at 116 Collins Street, Danvers. Recommend the license be granted.
Questions or comments? Question comes on the acceptance of the proposal and the adoption of the order. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries 8-0.
Order number 125, the Committee on Legal Affairs, to whom referred the matter regarding renewal for secondhand junk deal license for 2022, have considered said matter and beg leave to follow. Recommend the license be granted.
Questions or comments? Question comes on the acceptance of the proposal and the adoption of the order. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries 8-0.
Order number 126, Committee on Legal Affairs, to whom referred the matter regarding an application for renewal for a pawnbroker's license for Neon Group, Inc., DBA, Cash Point, 135 Cabot Street, have considered said matter and beg leave to follow. Recommend the license be granted.
Questions or comments on this one? Question comes on the acceptance of the proposal and the adoption of the order. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries 8-0.
Order number 127, the Committee on Legal Affairs, to whom was referred the matter regarding renewal of petroleum storage registrations for 2022, have considered said matter and beg leave to follow. Recommend the licenses be granted.
Questions or comments? Question comes on the acceptance of the proposal and the adoption of the order. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries 8-0.
Order number 128, the Committee on Legal Affairs, to whom will refer the matter regarding a proposed ordinance change regarding city clerk, assistant city clerk, and clerk of committee salaries, have considered said matter. And this will go into a legal ad for the newspaper and then come back to the full council.
Thank you very much.
Order number 129, the Committee on Legal Affairs, Committee of the Whole, to whom was referred the matter regarding proposed ordinance change regarding salaries of the mayor, city council, and school committee, have considered said matter and beg leave to follow. To set a public hearing on June 6th at 7:20 p.m. And a legal ad will go in the newspaper as well.
Thank you very much. Are there questions or comments on this one? The question comes on the acceptance of the proposal to set that public hearing for June 6th. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries 8-0.
Order number 141, the Committee on Legal Affairs, to whom was referred the matter regarding Beverly Ordinance Section 113-2C, possession or consumption on public ways and public places or in private property, in Section 192-61E, sandwich board signs of the city ordinance concerning alcoholic beverage and signs. And this will go into a legal ad into the newspaper as well for final passage.
Thank you very much. Another ordinance change, so we will not be able to act on that tonight. Thank you, Ms. Kent.
Order number 58, the Committee on Public Services have considered some matter and beg leave to follows. The rodent infestation in downtown and other neighborhoods, Public Service has received and placed on file, but it will be still open and financing property. So, Public Services has reported it received and placed on file.
Okay.
But I'm going to put it into finance and property because that has
Because
not
it's
been
still
closed.
open.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Order number 113, the Committee on Public Services, to whom refer the matter regarding a letter for a Public Service Committee public forum regarding the usage of Pete's Park and to conduct review of city's park rules and permitting process, have considered said matter and beg leave to follow. Receive and place on file.
Questions or comments on this one? The question comes on the acceptance of the proposal and receiving and placing on file this order. All those in favor? Aye. Thank you. Motion carries 8-0.
Order number 121, relating to National Grid. The Committee of Public Services, to whom was referred the matter, National Grid petition 304-41241, a petition construct a line of underground electric conduits at Railroad Ave. Set a public hearing for, approve it. So many public hearings.
So many public hearings.
Recommend that council approve.
Thank you very much. Questions or comments on this one? And Councilor Rand, this is obviously in your ward. You feel comfortable with the way that proceeded?
I do, thank you, and Subita's gonna send me communication that she also sends to Butter, so I think that's helpful.
Excellent, thank you. So then the question comes on the acceptance of the proposal and adoption of the order. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries 8-0.
So we're going to jump back to order number 111, Committee on Finance and Property, to whom was further matter regarding a budget transfer of $90,000 into the Department of Public Service Fund budget to fund costs associated with the recently settled contracts between the City of Beverly and DPS workers and foreman unions. Have considered said matter and beg leave to report as follows. Recommend the council approve this request.
Questions or comments on this one? Question comes on the acceptance of the proposal and adoption of the order. All those in favor, aye. Aye. Thank you. Motion carries 8-0.
Order number 109, the Committee on Public Services, to whom referred the matter regarding the appointment of Miss Judith Cronin, 33 Middlebury Lane, to the Beverly Golf and Tennis Commission, have considered said matter and beg leave to follow. Recommend the council approve this appointment.
Questions or comments on this appointment? The question comes on the acceptance proposal and adoption of the order to make the appointment. Oh, did someone have their hand up?
I just had a quick question on this appointment. Is this a reappointment or a new appointment?
New.
It was like Councilor Feldman, this was coming out of your committee.
It's a new appointment.
And did we have from the administration a cover letter,
Yes.
background? Okay, thank you.
We had everything, the Public Services Committee, usually for new appointments, we have been interviewing, so to speak, the candidates, but with a couple of these, we have both a cover letter and a resume, and I think most of us know Judith Cronin from her extensive service to the community of Beverly, and after writing her resolution for her retirement last year, I felt confident in her service on this committee, so that was why that was part of.
Yeah, so if I may just respond, I also very aware that Will Cosmos ran for public office, and I'm fully aware of his background and qualifications. That said, at least I, as a counselor, want the administration to always, for new appointments, at least, to submit a cover letter and some background so that we, as a council, if we're being asked to vote, review and vote on an appointment, have the same basic information that the mayor has in making his decision to forward it to the council for an appointment. That's my point. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Houseman. I believe that appointment is in legal affairs, so I'm confident that Chairwoman Rand will take care of that. Wow, our brains.
Yeah, that was not specific to Will Cosmos, or that's generally for all new appointments regardless, basically.
And I would like to say, for public services, we do make a point of making sure we have the information we need. And so, from our perspective, we are doing our due diligence, even if it doesn't come to us that way. But that has been how we have proceeded with the appointments.
Yes, and I think that's something the council had agreed upon at the start of the term, and I think we've been proceeding that way. So I think that's clarified, and we're ready to move on. So is there a vote to accept this appointment, Judith Cronin?
Aye.
All those in favor, aye. Sorry. Great. Thank you very much, and thank you, Ms. Cronin, for, as Councilor Feldman said, your extensive service, and this just continues it. Thank you.
Order number 110, the Committee on Public Services, to whom we refer the matter regarding an appointment for Ms. Robin Donato, 51 Parramatta Road, to serve on the Parks and Recreation Commission, have considered said matter and beg leave to follow. Recommend the council approve this appointment.
Questions or comments? I see Councillor Feldman, you have a comment or a question.
I do have one comment on this. We recognize on public services that there is at least one more additional vacancy on this commission, and we recognize that there are multiple people seeking to serve the community in this. So we are taking the steps necessary to make sure that we have all voices represented when we have reviewed this, and we will be following up with Ms. Donato just to confirm that we received a cover letter and everything, and we're very excited for her service, but we just do want to follow up and make sure that our committees have good representation from everyone in the community. So we will be following up with her, but at this time we are recommending that she is approved.
Thank you very much. Councillor Bowen.
Thanks. Just an additional piece of context specific to the Parks and Rec Commission. So there is one more vacancy after this, and we understand there's already interest in that position. So hopefully we'll see another appointment soon. But also have started thinking about whether we can create an additional seat for a youth representative on that committee. So in some of the deliberations about the current appointments and whether that fills the needs on the committee, opened up that conversation to be had in the future.
Great, thank you. So the question comes on the acceptance of the proposal and the adoption of the order to make this appointment. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries 8-0.
Order number 132, the Committee on Public Services, to whom refer the matter regarding an appointment for Mr. Jordan Stutt of 113.5 Bridge Street to serve on the Clean Energy Advisory Committee, have considered said matter and beg leave to report. Recommend the council approve the appointment.
Questions or comments on this one? The question comes on the acceptance of the proposal and the adoption of the order to make this appointment to the Clean Energy Advisory Committee. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries 8-0, and thank you very much to Mr. Stutt, who, this is a council appointment. I had the opportunity to meet with him. We also received much of his information. He's already been working in a volunteer capacity alongside this committee, and thank you, Mr. Stutt, for your willingness to serve.
Order number 133, the Committee on Public Services, to whom refer the matter regarding a petition to construct a line of underground electric conduits marked Cabot Street, Plan 303-90943. Request to set a public hearing on 5/16 at 7:45 p.m.
Thank you very much. Questions or comments? Question comes on the acceptance proposal and the recommendation to set that public hearing. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries 8-0.
Order number 134, the Committee on Public Service, to whom refer the matter regarding a petition to construct a line of underground electric conduits marked Payberry Street, Plan 2119587A, have considered said matter and beg leave to follow. Set a public hearing for 5/16 at 7:50 p.m.
Thank you. Questions or comments on this one? Question comes on the acceptance proposal and the recommendation to set that public hearing. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries 8-0 for that public hearing to be set for the 16th. Thank you.
That's all I have from committee. That's it.
I was gonna say, I'm laughing because you just read for a very long time, Ms. Kenton. You said that's it. Thank you. Thank you very much, councilors. Are there any last announcements or reminders? Councilor Rotundo, I see your hand.
Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to mention Reed's Ride. It's its 18th year. Ms. Sacco had sent us a letter. It is on July 17th, rain or shine. It starts at Linfield High School. It does end at Stage Fort Park in Gloucester. It's a bike ride, not a race, so each rider proceeds at his or her own pace. There will be more information, I believe, with our Madam Clerk, correct?
There's cards that Reed's mom left. Yep.
So there's contact information there, so I just wanted to bring this to the council and anyone who's watching BevCam's attention, the attention of this 18th annual ride for Reed's Ride. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councilor Rotundo, and thanks for letting folks know that if they are looking for more information, there are cards to pick up outside the clerk's office. Councilor Feldman.
Yes, I just had one quick announcement that Green Beverly is in the position to receive a grant possibly that would be really transformational to a food diversion program. And we can vote. We can all do our part. We can vote. And the information is on the Green Beverly website and on their Facebook page. And I also shared it on my counselor page, so you can vote every day with every email address you have from now until I think May 5th, so May 6th, so the end of this week. So vote tonight before midnight for your first time. So.
Thank you very much, Councillor Feldman. Any other announcements from councillors? Councillor Houseman.
Yes, I want to hand out a prospective budget review calendar for the councilors. We may have to tweak some dates. So we're I'm still getting feedback from department heads and so forth, but this is a tentative schedule, what it looks like. And so I welcome your feedback. If anything that is here is problematic, I'd be very happy to hear from you about it. I will say that it's very difficult to come up with even this schedule because there are a lot of conflicts to try to navigate in terms of this room and other commitments by other folks. But this is what tentatively this looks like, subject to that. One thing I would be interested in knowing, well, let me just say that as it's presently laid out, this is intended to have roughly 90 minutes worth of hearings on any given night so that we wouldn't be going too long, too late. We'll see how that works out. It's also grouped in terms of department by sort of categories. So like you have all your law enforcement and law-related department heads speaking one night, all your social services folks speaking the same night. At least that's the thematic intent. One thing I would like to get feedback on, if folks have it, is I've presently set this to all these meetings that start at 6:30. That is different. We've usually always started at 7. The council seems to be willing and able to meet at 6:30. It'll hopefully make the evenings not go so late on these budget hearings. But if folks feel strongly about it and they'd really prefer 7, we could do 7 instead of 6:30. So I'm open to hearing any feedback on that. And so that with that, there will be updates on this once this is finalized. But in the meantime, I welcome whatever comments you might have on it.
Thank you very much, Councillor Houseman. And as we were just reminded earlier this evening, scheduling matters are not within the open meeting law. So if you have comments about the schedule, you can correspond with Councillor Houseman about those. Other comments from councillors? Well, I will just close then by reminding anyone watching, those of us who are here in the room, that our next regular city council meeting will happen on May 16th at 7 p.m. here in the council chambers. Among other things, you just heard us set many public hearings for that night. But among others, there will be the continuation of the public hearing on National Grid's Regional Reliability Project. We have been working our way through this project and have had multiple nights of public comment, which have been extremely helpful. We anticipate the 16th being the final day for public comment in this public hearing. So members of the public or those who are watching or those who are here, if you want to share with your friends and neighbors, this is still an opportunity for public comment on the National Grid Reliability Project. And that will be at 8 p.m. We've been holding that hearing continuing along at 8 p.m. each night for continuity so that people can have a sense that it will always be picking up at 8 p.m. I also want to thank anyone who came out and spoke in our public hearings this evening. It's, as I say, each time we have public hearings, which has been each meeting I think that we've had, it's incredibly important to hear from members of the public, and your time is obviously very valuable, and the fact that you spend some of it with us is very important, and so we appreciate that. Thank you for taking the time to be with us. Thank you to all the members of the city staff who are here with us. I know most of them have their part is concluded. They're not still here, but Assistant Solicitor Old Mixon, I think you are the last city staff standing, so you get a special award for that. We haven't invented the award yet, but I'm sure it will be great. Thank you to Kim and BevCam, as always, for covering us. Thanks to everybody who followed on BevCam tonight and everyone who attended the meeting. And with that, well, and I should say thank you to my fellow councilors. Good work. We really did clear a lot of the routine business. That was the goal, to begin to work towards resolving a lot of our business as we move towards the budget season. Thank you for your effort on that. And with that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. 8-0, we're adjourned.